So Pompey 1, Arsenal 4. And you've got to look on the bright side. I mean, normally if you got stuffed 4-1, you'd be hanging your head. But the fact is that it wasn't a bad performance. Although I, for one, think that they kind of sat back a little bit and let us play a little bit of football. And we did. Problem with our goal was only that we scored it too early. We'd have liked to have scored it in the 42nd minute with the score at 0-0 than 2 minutes in with the score at 0-0. But it was a beautifully worked goal. And the person who'll probably be forgotten in it all, because he doesn't even get the assist, is Blair, who found himself in a little bit of space, but with two men closing him down. And you don't normally get a meaningful cross off if there are two men closing you down, but he did. He worked some space for himself, got it onto his preferred right foot, and slid a really meaningful pass along the deck and into the box. I didn't see at the time who it was who had the excellent shot that produced the parry from their keeper. It might have been Chaplin, it might have been Segacic. Whoever it was got off a terrific shot at exactly the right height for the goalkeeper, though, shoulder height. So made a spectacular dive, made a spectacular parry. Should have put it behind for a corner, really, to be on the safe side. As it was, I'm sorry, I've got the end of this cold that everybody's been having. I might sneeze in a minute, and if I do, I'll just get on with it. But at least you're not going to get it at this sort of distance, dear listener. So, yeah, who better to finish that move off and get back on the score sheet? And didn't he look delighted? Not relieved, actually. The look on Colby Bishop's face when he buried that chance and swung away to celebrate with the muscle man, Mr. Atlas pose that he's done before. He was saying, that's what I do. And none of us, including myself, must ever forget that. That is what I do. I'm a predator, as well as everything else. And I've just devoured that. Pounced on it and devoured it. Killed it with one shake into the back of it. He picked his spot quite carefully because the keeper was recovering. An Arsenal defender was closing in. He knew exactly where he wanted to put it to make sure that neither of those stood a chance. And that was what he did. And if you're a good striker, which he is, sorry, this cold. I'm just going to persevere, though. Sorry about that. But the great thing about this type of broadcasting is that all of reality is here. And it's been a freezing, rotten, damp day, and you didn't need me to tell you that. The players just got on with it, to their credit, and so did the two managers. I thought Arteta was very defiant about not wearing a hat, even though he had his that head of hair of his, which is almost getting famous in its own right, isn't it? Covered in a thin film of misty rain. But you're not going to wear a hat if you're spending that much money on your haircut. And he has it very nicely cut, doesn't he, the dear boy? Messino looked the part as well. And he looked more relaxed than I've seen him for some time on the touchline, even though we ended up being given a little bit of a run around. But I think, and I'm sure you agree with me, we don't need to spend too much time on the Pompey are conceding too many goals from set pieces, especially corners. Why? Well, because they were actually better than us in every department. They were more athletic than us, they were quicker than us, their feet were quicker than us, their thinking was quicker than us, they were stitching together little tiny triangles of movements, they knew where everybody was, they knew how to pass it to them. There were very few balls from them that turned into 50-50s for us, whereas a lot of our short passes turned into 50-50s, which they won more often than 50-50. They're a very, very good side. They are the best side at the moment by some distance in the best league in the world, which goes on getting better and better. So it's possible that the Premier League is now better than it's ever been. And there's one side that is not head and shoulders, but significantly better than everybody else in that league. And it's the team who visited Fratton Park this afternoon. And what a good show they put on. Frankly, I think we knew that we weren't going to get anywhere against them. And it was quite enjoyable watching a game where the result didn't matter to us too much. Of course, we'd like a cup run, but actually we knew we weren't going to get one. And it does mean, with all our injury problems, and we'll come on to that in just a second, ouch, with our injury problems and our fixture congestion problems, what with the Ipswich game having to be replayed, and just plenty of games coming thick and fast, exiting from the FA Cup may turn out to be a blessing in disguise. A lot of people say the same thing. Oh, not football watching weather at all. But anyway, on to the game. It didn't surprise me that we went in at half-time, the losing side. Did it you? They are that good. And they scored goals languidly. They did everything languidly. Even when they were flying around, sprinting in a sprint race with a Pompey player for the ball, they were taking a yard off us and doing it without breathing heavily. They were fast and they were fit and they were strong. They weren't that strong, actually, come to think of it. I just let that word slip in there almost lazily. They weren't that strong. Flo Ume, looked stronger than most of the Arsenal side. And so since we've arrived at him, let's talk about the possibility that we have lost Blair and Ume, perhaps for some considerable period of time. I hesitate to say it, although I said it at the time. I hope he's not out for the rest of the season. That was when Blair went down. Didn't see what happened to him. It was on the edge of our own penalty area. Whether he just suddenly pulled up with something or whether he was involved in a tussle and took a knock or a strain, don't know. We'll find out. Won't find out today. Today being the day of the game. The final whistle was about 5-10 minutes ago. And ditto with Ume. He obviously strained something when he was trying to regain his balance, having swivelled on the ball, let it go a little bit further ahead of him than he intended, saw an Arsenal opponent closing down on it, tried to get his balance back quickly so that he could accelerate, and his leg just made an awkward-looking shape in the air. It twisted. Not against the ground or an opponent. His leg seemed to twist in the air, and he was limping as he was trying to slow down. He was limping on it, and he got to the touchline, and he was down. And you could tell from the way he was lying on the floor that he wasn't going to get up straight away. I think he almost made an effort to get back onto the pitch, just so that there'd be a little bit of clock. Whether or not he did or not, I don't know, because the game got going again fairly quickly. And so I didn't even see whether he was carried or held. Oh, sorry. I got this cold. I should have been in bed, not watching football. Oh, forgive me. But in this type of broadcasting, it's perfectly acceptable. Gone are the days where at the BBC they would have. I'll tell you what they'd have done at the BBC if you'd been at Radio 5. If you'd been under the weather in the way that I am, they would have called a nurse. Oh, I really mean it. Oh, but I'm going to persevere, because I honestly think that there are a great many positives for us to take from the game. However, there is a however, and the however is Arsenal seemed quite happy to let us play a little bit. We had more time on the ball than we do against championship sides, because championship sides just close you down. It's frantic. There are regularly 6 to 8 men within 10 yards of the ball, everybody straining at the leash to get a touch in, and you get this ping-pong bagatelle off shins and legs, and eventually the ball squirts out of the melee. It's almost like a rugby maul of players, and somebody gets a chance to hold on to it, and if they do make a meaningful pass of it, they'll pass it back to the keeper. And that is about as biting as it gets, but not with Arsenal. They were playing some beautiful geometric shapes. One-touch football. Good touch football. Soft touch football. The passes were in the right place and coming at the player at the right speed. And even before the player was picked out, and even before he knew the ball was coming, he knew what he'd do with it when it arrived. He was aware of the availability of probably more than one, maybe 2 or 3 Arsenal players who he could just ping it to. And towards the end of the game, they were back heeling and they were flicking, and it wasn't showboating. They weren't rubbing our noses in the score at all. They were back heeling the ball because it was the cutting edge thing to do. It was the right thing to do. The back heel was the pass to make. And that's so often in the Championship, you get people trying the odd back heel if they're showboating, if they fancy it, if they think there's somebody in the stand who maybe has come to scout them, they'll just put on a little effort with a back heel here and a flick there, and they don't come off 90% of the time. Virtually all the Arsenal ones did. And some of their attacking passes, they were splitting our defence. They were putting passes through for players to run 20, 30 yards onto, knowing that their player, their colleague, would be quicker than whoever was competing with them for Pompey, because they were quick all over the pitch. Incredibly quick. None of them were carrying any spare muscle. They were all perfectly tuned, fast athletes. And they could mix it if they had to, but they didn't really have to mix it very much because they were too consummate. Their set-piece goals at corners, do you know, I looked it up because I heard, who was it, before the game saying that they were specialists at set-pieces. And I looked it up, and they've scored 14 goals in the Premier League this season from 118 corners. Of those 14 goals, right, that's almost half of them, I beg your pardon, I'm not explaining this very well. Almost half the goals they've scored in the Premier League this season have been from corners. So there's absolutely no shame in getting stitched up by an Arsenal corner. And I would put it to you, there's no shame being stitched up 3 times. We weren't really stitched up, actually. Their tactic was their goalkeeper, Pompey goalkeeper, is their second choice. Don't know where Schmidt was. I guess we'll hear about that in the post-match interviews. They said, look, they got their second or third choice left back, so we'll come down our right. And they did, and you can see them choosing to come down the right because Terry Devlin was having yet another fantastic game at right back, so they didn't bother him too much. He bothered them. But then they came down the right time and time again with defence-splitting passes, with tremendous speed. Poor old Swanson was struggling away, hence conceding the penalty. Let's talk about that for a second because that was actually a great moment of light relief. Chaplin made a big fuss of it and a song and dance of it, and the referee had to come and pull him away. And we tried everything we could to put off their guy who was going to take the penalty. And he was standing there trying to act languid, trying to act unimpressed, trying to act cool, looking cool, in his cool black bandana, and he did look good. And he was just standing there holding the ball against his hip with this kind of, you can't bother me, mate. Nobody bothers me. I'm so cool. And then he took the worst penalty I've seen for a long time, wasn't it? Because he did that stop-start thing, saw that Bilic was going to his right, so he then adjusted. Perhaps he was going to the keeper's right anyway, but then having forced the keeper to make a little movement and had his eye on the keeper, not the ball, he then knew he had to kick it the other way into what would probably be a virtually empty goal. And in readjusting to do that, he threw himself off balance, and it was a pathetic corner, and he almost smiled, almost, to hide his embarrassment. Oh, I'm going to be rotten in the morning, not just with the cold, but because I can't put too brave a face on it. We lost 4-1, and that never feels good. But looking around at the crowd, the Pompey crowd, who did a great job, nobody was that bothered. It's kind of what we thought might happen. In fact, I'd go as far as to say I did predict 4-0 to the Arsenal, but I didn't want to do it out loud because it sounds disloyal. But wasn't far away. They scored a goal, a tap-in towards the end that gave Martinelli his hat-trick, didn't it? And that was beautifully made by them. A defence-splitting pass. The cross was so superb because it came past Shaughnessy between him and the goal, and Shaughnessy didn't know what to do with it because he knew that stick out a foot and it would be an own goal. It was perfectly crafted with a little bit of bend on it so that it came back towards Martinelli, round Shaughnessy almost, and giving Martinelli that little tap in. So it'll be interesting to find out where Schmidt was, why Shaughnessy was taken off. Interesting that Ogilvy came on and played as a centre half, and of course did all right because that's what we expect of Ogilvy and what we always get. So Shaughnessy off, we wonder why. Schmidt not there, we wonder why. Ume and Blair will just have to wait. I bet you that in the morning it will be announced that they're going for a scan, both of them. And then we'll hold our breath. And it will be bated breath. Because they both looked pretty potent, didn't they? Blair was looking increasingly potent. And Ume has a real presence about him. He's big as well as quick and committed. And we need all of those qualities up front. But on the positive side, Bishop stuck one away, and that can only do him good. And there were decent performances all over the pitch. If I had to name a Pompey player of the match, once again, it would be Regan Poole. Just for one last time, apologies for the fact that I brought you these thoughts whilst carrying a pretty unpleasant cold. I hope you're well, and I hope things are back to normal in your house and work or school or whatever now that Christmas is behind us. So we go again. Play up Pompey.